several places, but this is not what I have in mind. Exposed aggregate concrete is a kind of decorative concrete. Some examples you can see here. Aggregates are exposed, only the cement paste that is binding them, which is removed at the top, and that is called as the exposed aggregate concrete. So that the colored aggregates, or whatever the type of aggregates that we choose, they are exposed and seen, and they are used as exposed aggregate concrete. In fact, this can be combined along with stamped concrete. That means you can expose the aggregates and you can stamp it. You can expose the aggregates and then the other various decorative things also, like change in color, etc., can be important to this. Now, these are the things that we have in mind. These are some examples of exposed aggregate concrete. Now, we'll see how, this is yet another example of how this exposed aggregate concrete would look like. Now, what are the constituents of this? This exposed aggregate concrete has about 6% of air entrained in this, and normal 10 to 11% of Portland cement, and 40-42% of gravel or crushed stone, that is coarse aggregate, then fine aggregate 25-26%, and about 16% water. That is a normal constituent of this. First, about the aggregate properties.
First deminar of this edition. What you can see now is Ultratech has made a sample concrete so that we can show the finished product yesterday. And what we will take you across is to see how the concrete looks like when it is fresh at site. What you can see here is the colored concrete which is coming inside this transit mixer we have. This is how we would lay out the concrete. You can see the concrete is slightly brownish in color to look at when it is wet. As this sets and hardens, it would arrive at a pinkish surface like this. And what you can see here, as Dr. V.R. was telling all of us there, is after the concrete is poured, the choice of aggregates that we have, either it could be colored aggregate, natural aggregate, and what we can see is we can also introduce some artificial stone-like material into this, and we can also see here, we can lay it in pattern, we can scribble it all along, and the wonderful thing about this variety of concrete is you can embed glass marbles here. You can see a couple of marbles are being inserted here, and after the entire process is over, as Dr. V.R. was telling all of us that there will be a layer of small spray of controlled retarder spray onto the surface, so that a part of the cement is not set and it is washed off as soon as the time is up. And once you wash, this is the surface you get. To ensure that the product is hardened enough to be serviced as a floor, a harder material is being brushed here.
Is that a clear sealer, Nagesh?
Yes, it is a clear sealer. It is a clear sealer. Whatever the color that you have given to the concrete and the texture and the colors of the aggregate will still be seen.
Can this exposed aggregate be polished, or does it have to be rough?
It can be polished. It can be polished. Only thing is the careful choosing of and grading of the aggregate will be essential.
Normally, where is such concrete used, Nagesh?
It can be used because you can see here, if my camera can focus it well enough, it is slightly rough and it is non-skid. It will be an ideal application as a swimming pool deck or the wet surfaces where around the lobbies of the hotels or the houses. That can be a very good application of this, Ashok.
Does it exhibit any cracks? Will there be shrinkage? Do you add any fibers or anything? How do you prevent shrinkage cracks?
Normally the drawbacks of natural concrete would be there according to the place where we are going to use this concrete. So basically, it's very popular as patios and pavements inside parks or buildings, where we can use certain fibers to ensure that we will control the shrinkage cracks.
Okay, I'll just ask the audience if they have any questions. Do you have any questions?
Ashok, small addition from Mr. Renuka Prasanna from Ultratech.
Okay.
He is telling that this concrete that has been laid here has got fibers in it.
Okay. What is the age of this concrete? What is the curing time?
It was poured yesterday around 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay, is there a normal curing time for this, or does it cure faster, or do we require more time?
The concrete should be treated in the regular way that you treat normal concrete. But once the application of hardener has been done, there will be a little bit less escape of moisture from the concrete.
Okay. Audience, do you have any questions? Nagesh, we have a question. Sir, could you please identify yourself and to tell who you are, sir?
My name is Rajiv Gupta. I am from Cement. I have a question. This type of concrete. Are there any specific fibers or any polyester or any?
What has been used in this concrete is polypropylene. Normally, because of their color, it is preferred, and since this is basically a non-structural concrete, we can go with polypropylene. But there is no rule that or no restriction that you cannot use steel fibers.
Thanks, Nagesh. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Professor Venkatesh Babu, JSS Academy of Technical Education. What is the cost per square feet and lifespan? Lifespan of that material.
Sir, this lifespan of this concrete is regular to normal concrete. The only thing is we have given it a little bit of lipstick powder and paint.
Square feet.
Sir, the kind of decoration, I have Mr. Renuka Prasanna with me, who is from Ultratech Concrete. He's saying that it all depends upon what kind of decoration you would like to have in your exposed aggregate concrete. Probably the cost of aggregate, the probably cost of color is what comes into picture here. The lighter the shade, the expensive will be the concrete.
Nagesh, until now you had some very easy questions. Now you got the final exam. Mr.
Yeah.
Ahmed Ramesh is going to ask you a question. Be afraid. Be afraid.
Yeah.
Nagesh, I think it is a very good demonstration.
Thank you, sir.
Only one question I had is, what kind of retarders that you have used? And how do you control the depth of the washout of the cement paste over that? How do you control the depth at which it has to be?
So normally it is done, it is a demo setting. Slowly when it is theater setting, we made it only a surface. It is about 2-3 mm depth only to penetrate.
Yeah, actually what happens is, if you are using a normal retarder, then the normal retarder will penetrate by, a mechanism by which, it will penetrate even deep when you are spraying it on the surface. So there is a specific retarder called surface retarder, which will not really penetrate deeper into the total matrix. So that will restrict its penetration to maximum about 2 to 3 millimeters or even 4 millimeters. And when you are washing by the spray, then even if the spray pressure is higher, the cement paste at the deeper sections will not be dislodged from that. So that otherwise what happens is, when we are having this kind of surfaces, there is always possibility that the aggregates on the surface will get dislodged, and there will be pits over a period of time when the abrasive loads are moving on that.
Thank you, sir, for bringing out some more information on it. I think the surface retarder was a trade secret that Ultratech was keeping for itself. Thank you for bringing out that. And as you said, the choice of a retarder that is to be sprayed and the timing at which it has to be sprayed is very, very essential.
Nagesh, all secrets getting exposed.
Yeah, sometimes the deminar is meant for that.
Okay, I have one or two questions. Are these colored aggregates proprietary, or can anybody do it? Can I take some aggregate and put some color on it and do it in my house?
You can do it in your house, but you cannot guarantee the color sticking onto the aggregate as far as you choose the color. And most of these materials material is available on the shelf in various people. And as I told you, this marble you can see, it is not necessary that you have an aggregate with an angular shape. You can even put marbles. The only thing here you have to be very careful about is how you are going to spray the retarder, what time and to what depth you are going to erode off the top layer. That is going to be the key here, Ashok.
Okay, I see a lot of application in smaller houses. So if you're going to supply it from an RMC plant, is it compulsory that I order about 5 cubic meters from you, or how do we do this? Small quantity. Suppose I want it from a house.
The limitation is the capacity of the transit mixer. If somebody has got a smaller mixer, they can get you at a smaller rate. But normally in a 6 cubic meter concrete, because we know the practical difficulties of having very small volume of concrete inside a 6 meter cube concrete transit mixer, these are the limitations that you can expect. Yeah, 2 to 3 cubic meters will not be a problem.
So I expect this more to move in project sites rather than individual houses.
Yeah, you are right, Ashok. This is more popular in the apartments where you have got the pathways, and you can also look forward to these kind of architectural flows coming up in the walking parks and these areas. They form a very good rigid surface to walk on.
Okay, suppose I have to, let me pour this and then we need to cure it, right?
Yes, you need to cure it, and at a specific timing of about 24 hours, you need to apply this hardener. Otherwise it would it would be exposed into quicker erosion.
If I don't, if I stop curing in 24 hours, then what happens to curing?
Naturally, the concrete is likely to lose strength, but yes, it will have its own lifespan, but it won't lose strength or lifespan, I would say.
Isn't that contradictory, what you are saying? Only one day curing and then putting the sealer, so what happens?
No, basically the curing is done to maintain the temperature of the concrete. You can still continue with it.
So I can put the sealer and that also acts as a curing agent?
Yeah, it prevents moisture from inside the concrete to go out.
Okay. So that will still cure the concrete?
Yeah, that will still ensure that the hydration is completed. Normally the 24 hours period is good enough for the hydration to complete.
Okay. Do your materials have to be mixed in your plant, or do you give the independent ingredients which we can buy off the
As you
shelf?
see here, Ashok, the base concrete which has been leveled here, this is what is the basic concrete that comes from an RMC plant.
Okay.
And after finishing this to a required level and the required slope, everything, then we spray aggregates like this onto this, preferably by seal spraying or hand spraying, or you can also put across it in different shapes. I think Dr. VR had a slide of a lizard on the floor. You can place aggregates like this in a systematic way, and then when you export, the designs also come across.
Now, is it possible for you to actually show this spraying of your aggregate?
Yeah.
You have
Ashok, the process will be on for some time. People can also see that, but I will show you how the aggregate can be normally sprayed.
So another basic question, is Ultratech marketing its concrete, or are you marketing the aggregate, or are you marketing both of the system?
Ultratech will be marketing it as a whole. It is export aggregate concrete, not the aggregate separately or concrete separately.
So I cannot come from the back door and ask you for half a sack full of colored aggregate?
Definitely not between you and me.
Definitely not between you and me, okay. Is it cost per square feet or cost per cubic meter? Cost.
Since this is a payment, it is always cost per square feet, but there is always a rider subject to this amount of thickness.
Okay.
Yeah, this is how the aggregates are sprayed. You can just place it like this, or sprinkle like this.
That's ordinary delay, that's not your special aggregate.
No, special aggregates they will spray it after the whole.
Okay. Okay, there's a question, what is the minimum thickness that is required, what is the thickness of concrete, bed concrete, over which you spray?
75 mm or 3 inches thick.
What should be the grade of concrete?
M30 would be the ideal grade.
reinforcement if you want?
Sir, if the condition of the pavement needs reinforcement, yes, you will have to go with reinforcement. But if it is going to be a plain concrete pavement, you can go ahead to pouring this plain concrete.
Both are possible.
Both are possible, sir.
Dr. Ramchandra is saying something here, just a moment.
So for this purpose, reinforcement is not required. After all, the purpose of this is different. It's not that heavy trucks move on this. Even when heavy trucks move on this, whether it is 8 inches or 10 inches concrete, you can go without reinforcement.
If it is in a basement, car parking or something like that.
Yeah. If you have designed a slab and over that you need this finish, then you can place 2 inches concrete. On that you can place these aggregates, finish it, and then expose it.
Dr. Veer, I like to add one thing. If the slab has got upheaval pressure for which reinforcement is provided, then reinforcement would be absolutely necessary there.
Sir, one question to you. The sizes of aggregates you're using is different, right? From big to small. Now we are exposing the aggregates to weathering action. What about thermal pitching between the aggregate and cement mortar and the joints? The bigger the aggregate, the more thermal expansion happens. How do you take care of the pitching action with cement and the aggregate?
Dr. Veer, can I take that?
Can you? Yeah, I was speaking to.
Regarding the thermal properties of
No, I think the question was different.
It's an exposed concrete and surface it's subject to weathering action, right? You're using some big aggregates to small aggregates. When the confined area is not contained, how do you expect thermal pitching not to happen with aggregate and cement bonding area? If the aggregate is big, it exposes more temperature expansion than small aggregates.
Sir, that is the reason the surface hardness are placed. And one thing is sure, all these ornamental concretes are not structural concrete. Some of these things will have a limited, much lesser lifespan will be different. The surface hardener will take care of the thermal debonding that can happen between the aggregate and the matrix. Ashok? Hello?
Just a minute, Nagesh. The question that Mr. Karthik of Mysore has asked, it is being discussed and Dr. Ramchandra will answer it.
Preferably, it is always preferable to have the same size of aggregates so that the differential is constant. I agree with you. Small size aggregates and large size aggregates, they don't behave alike. When you start exposing them, you should keep one of them as a benchmark. Therefore, it should be preferably of the same. And that way, you think of temperature differential. That is true even with concrete. That is true even with concrete. And here you have the aggregate also exposed.
I think I have to add something here. One is for the thermal expansion, the material properties of the aggregate is more governing factor than the size. Because the size of the aggregate, expansion and contraction will contribute very, very less. But if the material, like if you are mixing basalt and if you are mixing limestone, or if you are mixing basalt, limestone, granite and all that, which are having different coefficient of thermal expansion, then it is going to be mattered much rather than the size of the aggregate. But here, if the size of the aggregate is normally uniform and the material is also uniform, then thermal expansion is not an issue.
Just one moment. There was a gentleman here from Lafarge there to give presentation. Can I have the So, Nagesh,
Yeah.
are we done? Do you want to add something else?
Before I sign off from this presentation, on behalf of Indian Concrete Institute, Bangalore Center, I would like to present this memento to Mr. Renuka Prasanna of Ultratech Concrete.
Thank you, Renuka Prasanna. Thank you very much.
Signing off, Ashok.
Thanks, Nagesh. Thank you very much. I would like to request